Good morning, good morning, good morning. Carol Davis here with a spot of sunshine just for you. So, how are y'all doing today? I feel good. I feel really good. What I've been thinking about is I have to focus on what I'm thinking about because I bring about what I think about. And, in these dark times, it's easy to think of the dread and the spread of, that kind of rhymes, the spread of the virus and that's easy for me. How about you? So I make a choice to feel good, to see what's good about life. It doesn't mean I'm denying the ugly. So life is this, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just is. I mean, weeds grow in your beautiful garden. That's kind of about how life is. You're trying to grow roses and weeds keep popping up. And what do? You pull the weeds. You don't sit there and go, I have all this work I did to plant my beautiful roses and now I have weeds. Hello, duh. Pull the weeds. We have to do that in our life. So why I do this little broadcast every morning called A Spot of Sunshine is because I want to give you that spot of sunshine. Just bring a little light into the night. So, the night of your soul. Oh, I'm just getting too poetic. Today, I'm reading, Where Does God Live? Where does God live? So, we think that's a question for little kids. Little kids ask that. Where does God live, Mommy? Well, I think a lot of adults do as well. Now, if you don't believe there's a God, that's okay. Or if you believe there's a power greater than you and you call it something else, that's okay too. Because we all know that I cannot grow a tree and I cannot grow a flower. So there's something out of me that makes that happen. So let's just leave it at that. I'm not going to get into theology. But when I say where does God live, I'm talking about where does this thing, this power, this something that just seems to keep life, the earth turning, and the stars shining, and the sun rising every morning. What makes that happen? So when we say God, let's just assume that's what we're talking about, okay? So here we go. Where's God live? And this is about hope. A little girl called Hope. Hope? We're all wondering about hope these days, and there is hope. Amid the muck and the mire, there is hope. So this is Hope. She's a lot like you. She loves her puppy and the color blue. She likes to laugh and play and sing, but asking questions is her favorite thing. Oh, I made my parents nuts asking questions. From the get, I think I came straight out of the chute asking, why? Where does the sun go? Why does it rain? Why don't snowflakes all look the same? There were so many things Hope wanted to know, such as how many colors are in a rainbow. She'd ask her friends and her mom and dad, her grandmother Rose and her big brother Brad, the mailman, the grocer, and nice Mrs. Ying. She'd ask anyone about any old thing. Yep. Hi, Bob. Thank you for joining us. Spot of sunshine. One day, a new question popped into her head, and she asked her mom, who was making the bed, where does God live? Does God live nearby? Hope, God lives in heaven, way up in the sky. Now, I have a little different belief, but I'm reading a book, okay? So just stay calm. I believe God lives within me and within you, period. Everywhere, every molecule on the planet and in my body is God. But that said, I'll continue reading. Now, Hope hadn't heard about heaven before, and she knew she wanted to learn a lot more. So heaven's within me too, and so is hell. So I'll tell you that later because I'm reading a book. You don't want to look. But she knew she wanted to learn a lot more, so she went to the meadow to have a few words with sweet Mrs. Peep, her favorite bird. Have you ever seen heaven? Way up in the sky? Have you ever seen God when you fly far and wide? I've seen clouds and stars and skies of blue, the moon and rainbows and lightning too, but I've never seen heaven. though I've flown far and near. But the sky is so lovely. God has to be here. So yes, God's in heaven, and God's in hell, and God's in me, and God's in you. Don't be blue. Hope thanked Mrs. Peep and went down to the stream to see Mr. Frog, who was chubby and green. Where does God live? She asked Mr. Frog. He looked up and smiled as he sat on his log. Look at the flowers, the wide open spaces, the trees and the butterflies, these beautiful places. To me, this is almost like heaven, you see? That's how I know that God lives here with me. All of a sudden, and quick as a flash, Mrs. Fish jumped up high and came down with a splash. Oh, no, that's not true. That can't really be. I know that God lives here in the stream, here with me. This crystal blue water is lovely, I know. God lives here with me in the water below. See where I'm going with this? Okay, Bob. Hope thanked her friends and went on her way to hear what her grandmother might have to say. Her grandma was wise and her heart very pure, and she'd know the answer of that. Hope was sure. Does God live in heaven or down by the stream? Does God live in the water or is God a dream? Tell me, where does God live? I really must know. Oh, please, won't you tell me, my sweet Grandma Rose? Her grandmother smiled as grandmothers can. And softly she reached out for Hope's little hand. I know you're confused, and I'm glad that you came. Now listen real close, and I'll try to explain. You know, God made everything, seen and unseen. The wind and the sun, the meadows are green, the flowers and stars and oceans of blue, trees, birds, and rocks, and all people too. And when God makes a person, a star or a wave, and part of God stays with whatever God made. I like that. So God lives in the sky, in the meadow and stream. God lives everywhere, and God isn't a dream. Sorry. God lives in the frogs and the birds and in you. When you're looking for God, it's easy to do. God lives in all things that you see, hear, or touch. God lives in all people. God is in each one of us. And when you meet people you are loving and good, who are loving and good, they're letting God out just as everyone could. Wow. And if you meet people who seem hateful or bad, they've forgotten God's here, and that makes God sad. God is gentle and loving and cares for us all. God gives us the strength to get up when we fall. God is always around to help us find truth, whether we're old or still in our youth. God's your best friend, Hope. God really cares. So make sure every day to take time for your prayers. How should I pray, Grandma? What should I say? I want God to hear me. What's the best way? Her grandmother hugged her and said, Precious you, just speak from your heart, Hope. It's easy to do. Tell God your wishes, your fears, your dreams. Then thank God for all your favorite things. Ask God to guide you in all that you do. And be thankful for all the love God sends you. Hope kissed Grandma Rose and went on her way. And on her way home, she saw God in all things. God was in the clouds and the flowers and in nice Mrs. Jing. And later that night, when Hope went to bed, she closed her eyes and bowed down her head. Dear God, thank you so much for this wonderful day. Thank you for the friends who showed me the way. Help me, please, tomorrow in all that I do. And don't forget, God, how much I love you. And we're a little over time today, but I wanted to finish that book. And I love you, and I'm so grateful you're here. And tell all your friends they can watch this on YouTube. Change, less change, YouTube. Thank you.